Hi, everyone. Welcome to Dean's Chat. We've got a short video today. I'm joined by my colleague, Dr. Rob Snyder. He's the dean at the Barry University School of Podiatric Medicine, and he's a fellow member of the American Association of Colleges of Podiatric Medicine. That's the hat I'm wearing today. I'm the chair of the AACPM, and we have a really fun discussion today because the AACPM on September 1st is rolling out the Feet on the Street Student Recruitment Initiative. And it's really a fun initiative. It's put forth by all 11 schools and colleges of podiatric medicine. And we couldn't do it without the support of our corporate partners. So on behalf of the AA, Dr. Snyder and I would like to thank our guests, Dr. Ross Taubman and Dr. Luke Cicchinelli, for supporting the Feet on the Street efforts through PICA. As all of you know, PICA is the Podiatry Insurance Company of America. Its parent company is ProAssurance, and they are indeed the leading provider of professional liability for podiatrists in the United States. So thanks so much for joining us, Ross and Luke. We really are glad you're here today.
Thanks very much, Jeff. It's a privilege to be here. As the president of PICA, we have the distinct honor of supporting the profession. One of the things that I think is really important to us is PICA has been insuring podiatrists for the past 43 years. We have no peers in that particular venue. We were started by podiatrists, for podiatrists. We continue to have that as our DNA. And so the project Feet on the Street for us is a logical extension of that, because we need to ensure that the profession has an ongoing incoming stream of future podiatric physicians, which is where the schools come in educating and graduating those folks. So we're really privileged to be here. And I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce our Chief Medical Director, Luke Cicchinelli, and ask him to say a few words as well. Luke?
Well, thank you. And Ross has already stolen the stage. He's already said all the meaty topic, right? No, so we're thrilled to participate. And, you know, Ross and I, since we're tag team right now with this job, we deal with questions and asks for collaboration and sponsorship and things like that on a weekly basis. And quite frankly, we spend an awful lot of mental energy trying to decide what ones make sense and what the ones don't make sense. And quite frankly, this is one that is so logical that we didn't really have to spend much time at all about. It just makes sense to be supporting this. It's just one of those easier decisions on a weekly basis of sort of struggling with decisions and trying to figure out what makes the most sense, both as podiatrists, as Ross and I both are, like yourselves, but also within the context of the business. Listen, we're passionate about the profession. We all know where we came from. I'll never forget, I'm sure Ross either, or you guys as well, where you came from, where you are, where you want to be, right? And so that's what we got to do. This is just logical for us to support it. We're excited. And I am curious, how will you sort of track your success? We understand you've got all 11 schools on board, all 11 deans. Outreach to 20 universities, pre-medical advisors. So wonderful. And then what will your initial follow-up steps be? How will you assess traction, and where will you know where it's having effect or what needs to be modified along the way?
So I think I can answer that. But before I do, again, I wanted to thank you both. Luke, you and I meeting for the first time virtually. I know Ross for quite a long time. We bonded a long time ago and have a lot in common, and I have tremendous respect for him. The way we're going to actually, it's an excellent question, because metrics are extraordinarily important. You know, that old adage, you can't manage what you can't measure. So we have a software program in place which is going to give us metrics to allow us to see what initiatives are working and what initiatives are not. And I think we can very, very easily pivot in another direction if we have to. I mean, again, right now we're looking at impacting 220 universities across the United States, so with 11 schools involved each. looking at 20 universities. But I think it's really more of a multi-pronged effort. We have a social media campaign. We're going to have podcasts and blogs. We're going to reach out to alumni, particularly those individuals that have prominence in the field. It's very important also when you have a director of admissions who, in my school, did an incredible job of recruiting. You also have to have a doctor with you. I'm convinced that kind of seals the deal, if you will, because students really want to know exactly what the profession is about. What's really sad and kind of a puzzle to me is that for so many years, podiatry has been such a wonderful profession for all of us on this call and for many, many people around the United States. But when you go to colleges, very often the administrators or the individuals who are advising those students who are interested in medical careers, podiatry is not even on their radar. So hopefully this will change the paradigm and will work in our favor. When we first started at the beginning of this year, I was concerned that we'd probably fill a third of our class. We were very, very concerned. Fortunately, with a lot of creative thinking and a lot of work, and a team effort, we were able to pull through. But I can't see doing that every year. I think what we have to do is we have to start increasing the numbers. Just to kind of give you a sense of things, Georgetown Medical School had 18,000 applicants for about 200 spaces.
18,000, wow.
18,000 for one school. For about 200 spaces. So there are people out there, obviously, that are not going to get into Georgetown, may not get into any allopathic school, and they should be looking at other options. And I think this is going to give them that opportunity.
Yeah, Ross, I've quoted you many times over the last few months when we've been out raising money and talking about the feet on the street. There's no reason why our profession can't have 2,500 applicants to the 11 schools. And that would provide us with about 3 applicants per seat. And as you know, at different times throughout the past year, we were up to 40% less applicants than we had just 3 years ago. So this is we're in crisis mode, if you will. It's important that we act and we act appropriately and swiftly. And I think the effort to go out and blanket the country of 220 undergraduate institutions and kind of merge together the advisors, the students, and a shadowing doctor assigned to that campus can really fill that niche. And we're really putting a lot of emphasis on the shadowing opportunities and the doctors that we're going to be working with are understanding that they are going to be the go-to doctors at that university. And they're going to be expecting students to be coming through. And then our software tracking system, as Rob mentioned, is really set up so that we can make sure we don't miss any of the important elements of the Feet on the Street campaign. And we'll be able to come back to you as one of our supporters and share with you exactly what we've been doing. And I think that's really important. I mean, the tracking is not just for our benefit. It's to show our profession as a whole that the AA is really working hard. We're tracking our efforts, and we want to see it come to fruition and increase our applicant pool.
We're very excited, and I appreciate the commentary. And, you and I have discussed this, and Rob, you and I have discussed this. 331 million people in the United States, and we can't get 2,500 people to apply every year. I don't know why. So I think we want to do everything we can to make sure that I stop saying that sentence going forward. So that's a personal goal for me, is that what I think now will be irrelevant someday. So I do wonder, so we see this as a first step, right? We've got an immediate problem we're trying to address in getting to raise the number of applicants. Give me some view from the deans about what you expect. We'll be successful in this, I have no doubt, but we need to be able to sustain this going forward so that we're not in crisis mode, if you will, that we're in maintenance mode. And so what do you think we as corporate folks, but really the profession as a whole, what do we need to do longer term that just ensures that we don't find ourselves in this place again?
So pragmatically, this is an incremental process. We're not going to see dramatic results in the first year. It's going to take time. We obviously have to reach out to freshmen and sophomores in college. We have to start educating high school juniors and seniors. I think there has to be a grassroots effort in that regard. I think it's, once they're juniors, it's almost too late. They've kind of made up their mind, and they're headed in one direction or another. And if they don't get in, unfortunately, to the point that I made before, they're not being advised that podiatry is an option. So it's kind of like the greatest story that nobody read. Here we're sitting here, we know how wonderful the profession is, and I have to say this: without the support that you are giving, this could not be possible. So again, not to make you blush or make you feel uncomfortable, but we can't tell you how much we appreciate you stepping up first. And I think you took the lead, and others followed. And without that first step, we may not have gotten where we are now. And we're going to have to raise a lot more money as time goes on, and hopefully that will get easier as we start to see results.
Yeah. I'm very appreciative of the compliment. I can unequivocally state, and I'm pretty sure Luke would say the same thing, that everything that I have achieved in my professional career is because I made the decision to become a podiatrist and started back in podiatry school in 1979. And I mean that very sincerely. Nothing that I've achieved professionally would have occurred had I not made that decision. So both Luke and I are incredibly bullish on the profession. I know it's the right choice. And at the same time, this is a labor of love for us, right? We want to succeed as a company going forward. And the only way we succeed is by ensuring that those that come behind us find a smooth path to their success going forward. So as Luke said, it was not a very difficult decision for us to say, yes, we want to be in on this. Maybe a little self-serving because we need clients down the road, but that's how this works in the long run. So thank you for those kind words, but it was not a very difficult decision, and I hope that our decision to participate is the example that other corporate companies take in understanding that this will help them too if they participate. It's their own long-term benefit that we're all after. And those are when you have mutual goals, that's where partnerships are born, really, at the end of the day, is through the mutuality. So like I said, it was a no-brainer for us.
Well, we just wanted to put PICA front and center because you stepped up with $100,000 a year on our initial 2-year program. And we wanted you to know that we appreciate that. And we're going to be good stewards of that money. And we're going to increase this student applicant pool as quickly as possible. We have reasonable goals, right? We want to get about 900 applicants this year, which would be increased about 280 or so, and then up to 1,200 the second year. But ultimately, Ross, I'm echoing your sentiments. In this big country, let's get that up to 2,500.
Well, I'm going to predict that we're going to exceed that number in the first year. That's my prediction.
There you go. We may.
Right. Or 5 to 10,000. I mean, what we learn in life is that you can't really wish anything away, right? There's no wishing anything away. And I'll echo what Ross said. I mean, my wife and I are podiatrists. We met in school. We have had an incredible career. We still have an incredible career. We have beautiful kids, and everything has come from podiatry. And for whatever reason, over the last 20 years or so, our profession, all of us at large, have not effectively, apparently, communicated to the public exactly who we are and what we do, even though, and it's paradoxical, that we've all enjoyed tremendous success as podiatric physicians. And so there's lots of things that bang around in my head. And since you said this video is editable, so you can just cut them out if they don't fit in the talk. But, I would even start with talking about podiatry school to podiatric medical school, and talking about our profession as podiatric medicine and surgery, instead of podiatry. I think small things like that make a big difference. I think small things add up to big differences. And it is true that we are largely referred to as podiatrists out in the community, but that's even downstream from attracting young health science interested third and fourth year students, juniors and seniors in college, into the medical field, right? So I believe we should be talking about podiatric medicine and surgery, podiatric medical school, and engendering more interest perhaps in that way. And the other thought that I have is, and I mentioned this somewhere along the way, I guess a Zoom meeting a couple of nights ago, with the Texas model, which is where they, because of the state, and I understand perhaps it's unique to that state, but they're able to access the applicants who did not get into their first choice, perhaps, of allopathic medical school or maybe osteopathic or something else, and they're able to recontact them and say, hey, so we understand you're interested in the health sciences. How about taking a second look or a deeper look at podiatric medicine and surgery? And so I wonder, Rob, for example, when you quote that data about 18,000 applications to Georgetown and yet only 200 spots, we live in a data-driven world. I can walk by McDonald's and get 23 ads on my phone for a Big Mac by the time I get home, and I didn't even know my phone was on and that it recognized that I walked by McDonald's, right? That's the world of data and Google, right? And your daughter goes by a store, and the next thing you know, you're inundated with hair care products on your cell phone. So there's got to be a way that we can look into, well, all those 18,000 minus 200 that didn't get into Georgetown, they all took the MCATs. They all were pre-med majors. Isn't there some sort of avenue for accessing some sort of databases and then marketing to those databases and saying, hey, how about taking a look at a phenomenal career in podiatric medicine and surgery? I think there's stuff to be sort of mined there. I think there's data to be mined somewhere out there.
I think you're right. I know that at the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine, we do take advantage of the DO program. We have an osteopathic medical school here, and they have a lot of applications, and we work together in that regard too. And that helped us to fill our classes here, frankly.
Well,
we had the same issue. We have a master's program in biomedical sciences, and for years we were not getting people transitioning from that program into podiatric medicine. They were going to dental school and medical schools if they got in, but they didn't apply to podiatry school. So we went ahead and fostered that with the help of the deans of that division, et cetera. And we started to get some traction. So to your point, I think the homegrown students, the people who are already in your population, are really those individuals that we can get a hold of very quickly and talk with. So you're absolutely correct. I agree 100%.
I have one other.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, I was just going to say, I agree with you about podiatric medicine, and that has been a trend certainly in our association. And the Dean's Chat podcast is called All Things Podiatric Medicine. So I thought I'd share that with you. So I agree with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I also wonder are you having current students in your 2 schools or all 11 schools engaged in the process as well to try to recruit other students? In other words, similar age group talking to similar age group. So, we probably all have kids or nieces and nephews and so forth. And, although they may not answer an email from us or even a phone call or even a shout down the stairs in the same house, they'll answer a WhatsApp or a text message from their friend in, 0.3 seconds. So young people want to talk to young people. And even if the message is exactly the same, right? Yeah. So I think that's a great point of engagement as well.
Absolutely. Luke, we've been using the connections that our students have with their advisors and their pre-med groups at their alma maters. And that's really a great source of recruitment. And there's
sororities, fraternities,
they relate for sure. And we need to continue that for sure, because there's nothing better than pipeline schools for our individuals, schools and colleges, because that is a major foundation of our recruitment efforts. And then it's important to note that with feet on the street, these 20 universities that we're all reaching out to, each of the individual schools, are incremental above and beyond what we typically do. So, I mean, really, it is serving as a net to get out there and interface with people that aren't sending students to our schools and colleges around the country. And a lot of it's awareness, right? I mean, you go into these schools sometimes and podiatry is nowhere to be found on their website. If a student's interested in the health professions and they go to their advisor, podiatry is not even in the discussion. So that's what we're trying to change also.
Right. Yeah,
I also agree that having younger podiatric physicians involved is extraordinarily important, because these students that are considering a medical profession have to relate to those doctors that that are in the field. Another thing to keep in mind, and I think you touched on it, is the fact that we really have no definition of what we should be called. Depending on where you are, some people are foot and ankle surgeons, others are podiatrists, some are podiatric physicians. So I think there's some confusion as well as to what it is that we actually do. So your point is well taken, because I think what we're leaning towards is the podiatric physician and podiatric medical school.
I couldn't agree
more holistic.
I couldn't agree more heartedly. And if you don't mind a question, like sort of a elephant in the room type of question, I think that unity in the profession is paramount for young folks to feel like there's something worthy of emulating, right? Everybody kind of wants to be on a harmonious winning team rather than, well, I'd love to do that, but boy, it seems kind of disjointed and a lot of discord and that kind of thing. So, I know our feeling as well as PICA, within PICA, is that all efforts ought to be able to be complementary, at least, maybe, and it's probably even ideal that methods are distinct and yet complementary, because it's just like diversity, right? It just helps make a better product and a more effective messaging, right? So are you involved, or are you planning on, sharing information and receiving information from other groups in the country so that we can also, as a profession at large, be giving a harmonious message to an incoming first-year student so they feel like they're joining a winning team, they're joining a winning profession, they're joining something with a trajectory upwards?
Absolutely. And, if you're referencing like that, the foundation that's coming up, talking about branding.
Not specifically, I'm just talking
Absolutely.
in general, because I think our profession has been snake bitten online, internet wise, and so forth, just in general. So I'm not speaking specifically to that. I'm speaking to the profession at large, right?
Absolutely. Well, as PICA represents a tremendous number of our podiatric physicians around the country, so does the American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons, the American Board of Foot and Ankle Surgery, the American Board of Podiatric Medicine. We need all hands on deck, to quote Dr. Stephanie Wu. And I think that is certainly an effort. And we're paving some new ground here. It's kind of feet on the street. It's, bootstrap kind of thing, but it's relationship driven. It's not just sending out 1,000 emails and hoping somebody clicks on it. Relationships drive everything. We talked about that earlier. And if we get the right relationships at the universities with the advisors and get the docs and get the shadowing opportunities and make it a seamless experience for students that want to go into podiatric medicine, I really think we can make a huge difference and do it as an entire profession. I'm with you.
Ross, how many actively practicing podiatrists are in the United States? Do you know?
The number of podiatrists in the United States is probably around 17,000 is probably about a good number. But practicing podiatrists probably about 20% less than that. So probably somewhere around 13,000 podiatrists roughly that practice today. In answer to your question, we're pretty fortunate because we insure about 65% of those. So, we have a very large market share that we enjoy. I'd like to believe that we enjoy it because of the value and the service that we provide to podiatrists in a unique way. But the amazing thing about podiatry, I think about this in my, it's hard to believe, I'm going to my 40th reunion of podiatry school next month. My class is meeting in Las Vegas for our 40th reunion. Imagine what's changed in our profession in 40 years. I mean, it is mind-boggling. And the things I think about are when I graduated in 1983, 50% of the students who graduated podiatry school then got a residency, and of that 50%, only 25% got a second-year residency. Now, every graduate gets a 3-year residency. I mean, imagine the growth there. Hospital privileges, which were few and far between 40 years ago, it's now rare to find somebody who can't get hospital privileges. I mean, the amount of change that's occurred because of our own advocacy as podiatrists, as podiatric physicians, we did that. Nobody gave it to us. We did it, which is why I'm so confident that Feet on the Street's going to succeed, because we're doing it. Yeah. And we don't take no for an answer. We don't lose. We're winners, and we're going to make winners out of this situation. And the other thing that I think about is we live in a world of immediacy with regards to media. We're into 5-second sound bites and those kinds of things. And for the last several years, I think we've allowed the tail to wag the dog. We've allowed the negativity to be the dominant voice, when in fact, I'm confident that the way you feel about the profession, Jeff and Rob and Luke, and the way I feel about it is the dominant opinion of what it's like to be a podiatrist. And we need to unleash that to the rest of the world and be excited about what we do. And we'll have droves of students who then come out and say, I want to be like Jeff. I want to be like Rob. I want to be like Luke. I want to emulate that. And that's why I'm so confident that this is the right direction to go.
Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Jensen. We all got cut off on our Zoom meeting. And it's kind of funny because Dr. Snyder, Dr. Taubman, Dr. Cicchinelli, and I were going to talk for like 10 or 15 minutes. And obviously, everybody's very passionate about the student recruitment efforts. And we ended up talking for quite a while. But we are really glad that you took the time to listen to our conversation. At the AA, we are very appreciative of PICA and our other donors to help make the Feet on the Street program all it can possibly be. And we'll keep everybody updated on the progress throughout the year. And thanks for listening, as always. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.